Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. This is the world of TV shows, and today I'm bringing you a review for the fourth episode of Cold Case of the first season called Churchgoing People. The episode originally aired on October 19, 2003 on CBS. It was directed by Mark Pellington and written by Meredith Stein. In this episode, the team of detectives are going to be reinvestigating a 1990 murder case where a family man, a husband, was killed in Kensington Avenue. And it is thought that he might have dabbled into some pretty bad stuff, right? So, what brings this case to their attention is the widow who's been seen wandering roaming around in the street in near some cemetery, and she was basically disturbing the peace. And that woman is a widow. She's lost her husband, Mitch, I believe that was his name, and she has two children, one of a son and a daughter. The daughter's estranged, and the son is basically taking good care of her and keeping watch, but he happened to, not be careful enough, and she ended up, escaping from the house and roaming around freely, right? And basically, she has some kind of Alzheimer's, so she requires a lot of attention, from her son who's living with her. And yes, so it is about, as the title of the episode seems to suggest, church-going people. It is a Christian traditional family, very religious, very, involved in church services and things like that. And yes, so it comes as a bigger shock that the husband was found in such a rough part of town, right? Kensington Avenue, which is, in this episode, as it is mentioned, this is where a lot of criminal activity takes place, including drugs and, other things like that, other unsavory things. And when they suggest that the husband could have done something, not so good, the wife pretty much dismisses it by saying that, her husband would never, do such a thing, especially, back then when she was interrogated the first time by Jill Sherman, who was basically the assigned detective at the time, or I'm not sure if he was a detective. It's I forgot what kind of it's I believe it was I'm not entirely sure exactly what was his district, but he was basically the one investigating. And it's been raining a lot that night, so a lot of the forensics was lost, I believe. So yeah, it was a pretty hard case to solve back then, but now with the new detectives on the case, Detective Rush and the others, they're gonna try their level best, to, make sure to solve this case once and for all, and to find who killed Mitch and who destroyed that family. What could have destroyed it? So this is basically it for the episode. Now, we have a lot of different actors and actresses, so I'm going to tell you about them right now. So we have Isabella Hoffman, who plays Charlotte Bass, who is our main focus in this episode, who is the older woman who is having a hard time remembering things, so it's gonna be a little tough. But her son Ryan Bass is gonna try to be, assisting in that. He was played by Jimmy Simpson, so he was pretty great as well. Then we have John Wolcott, who played Mitchell Bays. Then we have Carrie Keane, who plays Judy Ann Wright. And yes, at some point she's gonna come into the picture when it's gonna feel like, he might have been not so, honest, and well, I'll let you find out for yourselves in what ways. Then we have Douglas Smith, who played Ryan Bass in 1990 in the flashbacks, as you have actors, from back then and from the present time in the episodes. Then we have Daisy McCracken, who plays Tina Bass in 2003, right? And she's played by Amy T. Gordon in 1990. But yeah, Daisy McCracken, who is basically the estranged sister who hasn't spoken to her brother in years, I believe, was in Halloween, Resurrection, I believe. She was pretty great in this in the movie, but in this episode, she was particularly good, and yeah, that was pretty great. Then we have Kevin McCorkle, who plays Jill Sherman, who is basically the one investigating, back in the day in 1990, without much, without much, without many leads, and obviously he had, some you know, personal issues back then that are gonna, be explained in this episode. Then we have David Forseth, who plays Officer Sylvan, and some other actors and characters. But yeah, I really enjoyed, Kevin McCorkle as Jill Sherman was pretty great. And then all the other actors and actresses were pretty awesome, especially Isabella Huffman, who plays Charlotte. She was pretty convincing in the role. Then we have, yes, her son Jimmy Ryan Bass, played by Jimmy Simpson. Jimmy Simpson was also pretty great, and so was Daisy McCracken. So these three actors did a pretty awesome job, in my opinion. Two actresses and one actor, right? And also, I didn't mention, but this is gonna be also, Chris Lassing, who is played by Justin Chambers, is gonna be really involved in this episode too. He wasn't in the previous one, I believe, but in this episode, he and Lily are going to be investigating together, and this is going to be pretty great. So what did I think about this episode, Church-Going People? I thought it was a pretty great episode in the sense that the plot is pretty nice, the way, the story evolves with the at first it sounds like any, traditional family with traditional values, and, not, this, obviously hating sins and stuff like that, and being honest and family devoted. But then as the episode goes on, some family secrets are going to be, coming to light, resurfacing. So I thought it was pretty good to have this kind of really, how could I say, this insight into, looking past, what appears to be, right? To go to see what is in depth, right? What is really, below the surface, you might say. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the fact that the woman was, at first, yes, she was picked up at the beginning, as you will see if you haven't watched it. But yeah, I really thought that the way she is, very frail, very scary, very easily impressed and scared. I thought that was pretty good. She's just really, a sad situation, and her son sticking out for, sticking out for her, trying to help. I thought it was pretty nice too for him to be, so involved in his mother's well-being and concerned about it. I thought it was pretty good. But yes, this episode called Church-Going People, yes, was pretty good in the sense that the storyline was pretty good and interesting, and it really, up to the end where you have basically when what happened, is basically being explained, and I'm sorry about this, I don't know what it was, but yeah, so I really thought that the way it ends with the who did it, I thought that was pretty good, and it really changes our perspective and makes us reconsider, this, that not everything is necessarily the way it looks at first. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good, especially with the whole characters, the set of characters, and family that is a little bit, estranged now, and obviously a little not holding so together after the husband's passing, the father also, and the way he was with his children at the beginning, very, very close-knit, very, bound, I don't know how to say it, very, very close, but yeah, as you see, his passing changed a lot of things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and the way it is explained, how the murder took place was pretty scary. So I thought that was a pretty good episode. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd definitely give it an 8 out of 10. It was a pretty good episode, so I really enjoyed it. 8 out of 10. What about you folks? What did you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I really love to hear about your thoughts and views. And thank you for watching. And God willing, I'll see you on the next review for another episode. In the meantime, folks, stay safe. Goodbye. Take care. This is the World of TV Show signing off.